let's start by having the two people who have their own practices already talk about what they do to attract clients, to build clients. Why don't we start with Liz? Liz, tell us a bit about what you do to build a practice.
So the foundation of my my practice really has been through networking, and networking specifically. And as a friend of mine, she says, "You network in target-rich environments." So I've been going to large events, essentially, and training programs, and then I network like crazy. I kind of get people off to the side and have conversations with them, and then follow up. Sometimes I would do, spot healings, like right then and there, so that they would have a sense of, what it's like to work with me, and they would go, I want more of that. So that's been the principal way, is, attending large events, conferences, that sort of thing, and also local networking groups, and then following up, having one-on-ones with people, and inevitably they go, oh, I think I'd like to work with you. So that's been the biggest one. Second to that has been speaking, and a lot of that, some of it's been live, and some of it's been, for the past year and change, it's been all virtual. So tomorrow I'm actually doing live. And a lot of that it's kind of tricky because different groups have different time limits. So tomorrow is like a 6-minute. So you really have to be very tight, in terms of the delivery. Other groups, it's more like 20 minutes, which gives you a lot of latitude, and you can kind of play with it. So those have been my two principal ways. I wish I could say that sending a monthly, I do a newsletter twice a month. I wish I could say that that's been a great source of business. It hasn't, but it keeps my name out there. It's out there. The other thing that I've been doing for the past year and change has been Facebook Lives every Wednesday. Brian, you were a guest on one of those. So Wednesdays at 1 Eastern time, I do a Facebook Live. And then I haven't been really great about reusing those recordings. That's one of the things that's kind of on my to-do list, is to start to repost them and repurpose them on YouTube and on LinkedIn, and see how it goes. But I can't say right now that it's been a big, business booster. No, not so much. Not so much. So that's pretty much it, boys and girls. That's pretty much it. Go and press the flesh.
What kinds of conferences? You talk about large conferences.
A lot of them are events done by people who are business coaches of one sort or another. And what's good about going to things like that is that, basically people are pre-qualified because they're willing to invest in themselves. If they're willing to, go, because these things aren't cheap. They're not cheap. So yeah.
And do they have meet and greets? Is that where you ply your trade, or how do you do it?
No, they don't exactly have meet and greets. I just, corner people in the hallway, or I listen very carefully. A lot of these events, people are standing up and saying things. And so I listen very carefully, to what people are saying, and go, ooh, I think that one could be a good one, or ooh, I don't know about that one, and then I make damn sure I track them down.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, your small videos, like the 6-minute ones, you said that like you did with Brian?
No, that's 30 minutes.
That's 30 minutes.
Yeah, the Facebook Lives are about 30 minutes. It's not a hard 30 minutes. It's like, where we go. Because what I do is I do the interview, well, it's not an interview, right, Brian? I mean, it's kind of like
conversation.
Yeah, it's a conversation. It's a chat. And then I transition into a guided meditation.
Okay. So you
and then we wrap it up.
you have some actual action that you take, that you engage the audience with.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever do a lift session during those? Like as an example for the
No.
public?
No, no, to date, no. That really wouldn't, I don't think that would really work, because the format for, over a year has been one of interviewing other professionals. And it's a variety of professionals. The overarching theme of this thing is standing firm when your world is shaking. So it was a response to what was going on, in the world, with COVID. How are people coping? What are you noticing? What are you noticing in your business? What are you advising your people to do? That kind of stuff. So it's a real variety of people who have been on, real variety.
Awesome.
Some people are coaches. Some people, do things like get people involved in franchises. Some people have been, involved in yoga. It's like all over the map. It's all over the map. But each with a different response to what's going on in the COVID world.
Okay.
Now, when I'm doing presentations where I can't, no, I do holistic fairs and psychic festivals, as I was up to COVID.
Yeah.
And what I like to do, aside from being there at the table, is do a presentation, preferably at the end of the day, so that we can go long if we have to. And the presentation invites people to come because there'll be opportunities for healing.
Yeah.
And I do one healing on each person with everyone else helping out. That seems to work pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. The other thing I have done is sponsorships. Right now, I just met a guy for lunch yesterday. I'm doing a sponsorship for a golf tournament. And the swag that I delivered are stress balls that look like golf balls. Right? So, and part of the invitation, it was in a glassine envelope with an invitation card that looked very, very masculine looking. And part of the invitation said, what if every day of your life could be like a day on the course, so.
Oh, that's a good one.
Who's your primary market in terms of demographics or business graphics?
So I actually have two. Initially, my practice was focused on diet-free weight loss. And part of that's what my book was about, diet-free weight loss. Because I discovered that, it ain't about the calories. It's just not. It's just not. So then I realized, so anyway, so that market, I have had some men in that, but mostly that's women. Mostly that's a women's market. The other demographic is guys, principally business owners, mostly business owners of one sort or another. Right now I got a guy who's a chiropractor. And the other guy is, he had a dental practice, and he sold it. And now he coaches people who want to, grow their dental practices exponentially. That's what he does. And then the other people, there are other women who are non-weight loss too. They're non-weight loss, but mostly business owners, of one sort or another. And that's who I want, quite honestly, because they have the money to pay me.
And how do you charge? Well, what sort of rate do you go for?
So I used to do packages of 3 and 5. This is like 10 years ago, 3 and 5. And finally I just went, it's just too much churn with that. And it was attracting people who basically didn't have the money, they just really didn't have the money. So a couple of years ago, I went to, 1-year engagements. It's like, if you don't want to work for a year, if you're not willing to dig in for a year, I don't want to fool with you. I know that sounds harsh, but otherwise you're not getting people who are serious. You're not. So my current rate is $700 a month for 2 half-hour sessions. And my intention is to raise the rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions from anyone before we go on to Aurora?
I just wanted to ask the opinion about how I could possibly get out with the pets,
Okay, let's tackle that after we hear
Yeah.
what Aurora does.
So pets are a big market. People will, spend a fortune on their pets. The other thing I have to say to you too is that LIIFT is not my only modality. I've been at this a long time, so I have a boatload of other certifications, and I'm also certified as a life mastery consultant with Mary Morris. So what I do is I blend business consulting with healing, because with business coaching, inevitably there's that time when they go, oh, whatever it is that they've said they wanted to do, it ain't happening. So then it's like, okay, this is when my psychic abilities come in. I go, okay, let's deal with that. Okay, so it's not like I'm just doing LIIFT. I'm not. I've got a bunch of things. I'm a hypnotherapist as well. I'm a certified business hypnotherapist. So there's a mix and matching that goes on with me.
Right. You
Just
teach
to
too?
be clear. I beg your pardon?
You teach as well?
I do not. I'm
No.
certified to, but that's not my dig. Yeah, I spent years in the classroom. I was like, nah, I'm done.
Well, what's your 30-second elevator speech?
My elevator speech, it depends on the market. I will say things like, one of my 1-minute ones starts out with saying, there are only 2 kinds of people in this world who have scales: dieters and drug dealers. Hi, I'm Liz Bull. I help smart, savvy women who've been struggling with weight for forever and unable to lose it to finally, ditch those pounds without ever having to count calories or do sweaty workouts again, unless they love them.
Cool.
Kind of goes like that.
And what about for the business side?
The business side, what I've been fooling with actually is, hi, I'm Liz Bull, and I work with energy. No, not Duke Energy. That's the local power company around here. Your energy. So, and I'll say something like, your energy affects everything. It affects your business. It affects your money. It affects your relationship. It affects your weight. If any of those areas are a concern for you, we need to talk. I promise. I don't bite. Speak to Liz.com. Let's hop on the phone.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Aurora, tell us about you. What you do to build your practice.
Well, with Healing with Aurora, I've used in the past commercials. I had commercials on like 20 channels at one point. Not a single call from that. I did magazine, the Cincinnati magazine. That was like $1,000 and didn't get a single call from that. Only thing that's worked for me is Facebook so far and doing videos. And then I just did one recently for LIIFT and I got 5 clients from that. You can go on my Healing with Aurora YouTube, and it's under there, under LIIFT Untherapy. And then just word of mouth, really. Like, oh, my friend just told me about, that she just did a session and she felt amazing afterwards. All my clients so far for LIIFT have been like feeling instant. Like a lady the other day, after she said the positive, like she's like, my jaw just loosened up. Like energy was just released from it. I'm like, that's what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And headaches going away instantly, things like that.
Yeah.
So just seeing the instant results is amazing.
Yeah. Good for you. Well, I'm excited that you're getting stuff off of Facebook because it hasn't done anything for me.
Yeah.
What are you doing on Facebook exactly?
Just putting things like this, in the books or on the page like this, and then and videos.
And videos just on
which is hard for me. I'm just getting started with videos.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's like, ah,
Yeah, like retake, redo.
yeah, no, I get it. I totally
Yeah.
get that. I totally get that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Greg Kelly, who could not be here tonight, says that anytime he starts running short on people, he does some sort of announcement on Facebook. And I didn't think to ask further, but it always gets him enough more to fill up his schedule.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good.
And he does something interesting too. When he tells them that a session will consist of 10 healings.
Wow.
Say that again.
The way he defines a session is when you get 10 healings, we're done.
Oh, okay.
Whereas my goal is I tell them it's between 6 and 12, and sometimes we get 16, but I want the time to be able to have the conversations before and sometimes during that give us insight.
Yes.
And also give me the opportunity when I realize they need information. Remember that we have that second section of structural education.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to walk away from that because it does, if they understand, if one of their decisions is I shun toxic people, but they don't know how to get new people into their lives, they're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good idea to be able to talk about the 6 levels of relationships.
Mhm.
And so folks do by all means go through those various pieces of information tucked away under structural education. And I'm not going to criticize him. He's got a model that works for him. But on the other hand, it can be really useful not only to your client, but to you, because then what I've noticed is as we're moving toward resolving most of issues for one of the longer-term clients, they still come back because they want to talk.
Mhm.
They need that information, or sometimes just because they know that I care about what happens to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And we always end up with a few things to heal, but I realized only recently it's like I'm an anchor for people who aren't getting enough positive love.
Well, Lord knows there's boatloads of them out there.
Absolutely.
Boatloads. Yeah.
So for what I'll do is when I get others recorded in onto our back video area, I'll let you all know so you can hear what they have to say too.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Now, Aurora, do you have an elevator speech you use?
No, I need to get on that. I just talk about, how LIIFT has been changing my life too by, doing sessions weekly. And what I discovered about the toxics that I had and, and my system and looking back on my life, how it's affected me up until now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there is value in that because they're never going to get that from a professional counselor.
Mhm.
Oh God, no.
You're allowing yourself to be vulnerable with them.
Yeah.
And I found too, when I talk about I was crazy and then I got myself well, it adds credibility or empathy. I'm not sure exactly what, but it does seem to make a difference. In terms of 30-second elevator speech, you have some that I've laid out there for you. I don't have a hard and fast one, but it's usually something along the lines of, I use LIIFT Untherapy to help people move to the happiest, most carefree, most love-filled, most successful life they ever hoped they could have.
I like that. I like that.
And I used to offer sample sessions, partial sessions to people to try it out. I don't do that anymore. Instead, I offer them a reduced fee. My normal fee is $125 a session. I don't do packages. Several people recommended it, and I haven't got it in my head yet. But
Coming soon, Brian. Coming soon.
What after we've talked about it, and all the literature I have is available to you to put your own names on. Those 13 different fact sheets as examples. Buy them, use them, because that gives people something to take home and read, and they're not likely to lose it. If you email them something, high likelihood of losing.
Yes.
And also, what I tell folks, if they're going, pass, at the booth, we have this whole rack of them. And if someone stops and starts looking, I say, if you know anyone who's hurting for any of these things, please take a piece of literature and pass it on to them. And once in a while, I get a call from someone where it was passed on.
Okay.
So in terms of, we have a lengthy conversation by phone. One of the things you can say that a therapist can is, yes, I can help you get well. I can help you feel better. Or together we can help you have a happier life than you've ever had. You can make a commitment because the probability of success in the work you're doing is so high.
Oh, God, yeah.
And so
Yes.
then I say, now I'm willing to, I suggest maybe we try a session out together, and I'm willing to put a little risk in if you are. So I will charge less than my normal fee. And
I don't take that approach. I'll tell you what I do. I take people through about a 40-minute phone call where I look at, basically four main areas of their life. Relationship, time and money, freedom, health, and then see where they are, just say, so, of these four, where is your satisfaction tank not 100% full? And they tell me, so that means this is where, you listen very carefully. And I tell them I'm going to be taking notes and all that, right? And then I ask them, so what do you want? What do you want? And they tell me, this is what I'd like to see. This is, I want I want a better relationship. I want a guy who adores me. I want to lose 50 pounds, whatever the heck it is, right? Something like that. And then I start to establish that there is a gap, between where they telling me they are and where they want to be. And then I say, so would you like some help with that? Would you like a proven methodology that will get you from point A to point B? And usually at that point it's like, oh, yeah, of course. So then I say, so what have you tried so far? And they'll tell me, and I'll go, oh, so where's the Dr. Phil? How was that working for you? And they're there, oh, that wasn't, no, that didn't work. That didn't work. So, if I could, give you a proven methodology to get you from point A to point B, would you be interested in knowing more about that? And they go, oh, yeah. So then it usually goes from there. And I just say, I offer a 1-year program that will get you from point A to point B. You want to do it? What credit card do you want to use?
Nice clothes.
I mean, really, because by that point, I mean, if you get people in touch with where they are, and make it crystal clear that, there's no way in, God's green earth, they're going to get there without my help.
Yeah. Now I have a different experience in that
Really,
they're already
their MasterCard.
they're already telling me at the start. Yeah, and this is worth emphasizing. It's not that we need to tell them what we do first. Our first job is to hear what they have to say and then develop the benefit story. And what I do is I tell stories of previous clients, modified, of course, so nobody could possibly know who they are. Oh, yeah, I had someone who had a similar experience, blah, 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 blah. And this is what happened, and this is where they are now.
I don't do that.
I hear that.
I used to, but I don't anymore. And now it's just like, let's get you in touch with where you are and how miserable you are and the possibility that I offer. You want to do it or not? And I tell them too, the conversation is just have them make a decision. And I'm good. I'm not Italian. You don't want to do it? Fine. You don't want to do it? That's fine too.
Mm-hmm.
No matter mine to me. I'm good with whatever they choose to do.
Which, by the way, is a very healthy thing, because what it shows us is she's not on the triangle.
Yeah, no, my attitude about it is some will, some won't. So what?
I've been working with a counselor whose ego was too involved in the outcomes of his clients, and we've had to do a pretty hefty amount of work. And the last time, well, last week I guess it was, she and I were talking. She said, I just let someone walk away because I knew that they weren't going to go where they wanted to and they weren't interested. And I feel okay. I was like,
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Surrender.
No, just not ego involvement.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I can feel glad when I see someone moving to a happier life, but it's not a reflection on me.
Right.
It's joy that they've made the choice and I've been able to walk part of the way with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So cool. Okay. Any other comments or questions about this whole thing? And
Let's
did
talk
I
about
send?
the animal. Let's talk about the animals.
Okay.
So tell me what you want to do with animals, please.
I would like to take the animals through the LIIFT process.
Which
and,
animal? What animals?
Mainly dogs, cats. I even thought about larger animals like horses or pigs. Even the livestock even.
So have you been around horses?
I've been around horses before, but I feel like I can safely do it. I feel like I have a good connection with animals. I do have a healing touch ministry or modality, just by laying on of hands. So I also do that as well.
So
I would offer, I would
money on
even
that.
offer that to pets as well.
Pets especially. There's so many people now for where the pet is the child of the family.
Yeah.
No, you can make decent money doing that for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Get yourself hooked up with veterinarian offices, get yourself hooked up with, people like what do they call them? Farriers, the guys who run around doing the horseshoeing,
Okay.
stuff like, people like that, and start hanging out with horse people. Horse people have money.
They
Okay.
do.
Horse people have money. So I would hang
Hang around horse people. Absolutely.
with the horses if
Yeah.
I were you. I would start there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So just start going to horse things. Start going to
Okay.
horse things. Yeah. Whatever is around, wherever there are horses, or people who have riding stables, that kind of stuff. Go hang with them.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
I will create a fact sheet for animals. I've been planning to.
Okay.
So now I've got a bigger nudge to
All
do it.
right. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, absolutely.
Rachel, does that fit with your interest too?
I don't know. I don't know what my interests are at this moment. I just kind of jumped in head first. So I'm just soaking it all in.
Okay.
Soak away, my dear. Soak away.
I've also noticed that people are more willing to spend on a child or grandchild often than themselves.
Mhm.
And from there, often we then end up expanding into the family unit.
Mhm.
True that. True
I
that.
think that
Yeah.
animals and kids are probably the best way to go for me.
Yeah. And you're hearing an awful lot of good ideas here.
Yes.
So that's cool.
Thank you.
Did I ever tell you guys about the first time we tried doing LIIFT on an animal?
I don't,
recall.
if you did, I
Okay.
don't remember.
Okay, let me tell you, because I've not done much with animals, but this one thing convinced me. We were finishing off an in-person class in Indianapolis. One of the participants was a holistic vet.
Mhm.
And as we were sort of breaking up, she asked if this could be used for animals. And I said, don't know, never tried. She said, I have in my car a dog that has been severely traumatized and is extremely anxious. If I bring it in, can we try? And so she brought the animal in. It was clear he was anxious. He couldn't sit still. He had to keep pacing. And so we did it by surrogation. Someone who knew him sat on the floor and just had a hand on him. And that person, we asked the questions and we set it up for what we would call a 4-quadrant release. Safe and appropriate, the whole process. And then she went into 4-quadrant and the dog wandered off. And so I think I was watching the time. I think it was like a minute and a half or something. And all of a sudden I hear in the background, look at that. So when we finish, we look over, the dog is laying down and is slowly going to sleep.
Wow, awesome.
It was that level. And so it was, okay, yeah, we can do it.
Love it.
And it's another, whole nother path for healing.
Yeah, there's no ego involved either with the animals.
Now, and there's no suggestion either. It works or it doesn't.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So,
You could totally do it. Yep.
did I think to include samples of the 13 fact sheets I have at this point when we sent you your pack, or do I need to send them to you? I'm not, they're multicolored, fact sheet
I
one,
don't
fact
know.
sheet two.
I got, yeah, no, I'm
Okay.
thinking.
I will get them sent to you. And, my contact information is on it now. When you buy it, it will be off and there'll be a blank spot where you can put your own label, or for a bit of extra money, we can create a template where we're printing it off with your information right on the back there, which I think looks more professional, but of course it does cost a bit more too.
Right, of course.
Okay,
Can I get that from you tonight? Do you have
yeah,
that?
if you
Okay.
remind me.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so something that I ran into the other day, two things that I don't think I've addressed. One is, what happens if when you're doing the calibration, everything is weak or everything is strong? I know it's talked about in the book, but I want to make it a crystal clear so you don't panic. Everything weak, odds are they're dehydrated.
Yeah, usually, 9.999 times out of 10, they're dehydrated.
So you get them a glass and have them drink some, then everything is fine.
Yep.
If you want them really weak, give them a glass of tequila instead. Everything strong, they're over energized. And so what you do is a 4-quadrant. Or you might try magnets. I've not tried magnets, but you have to tell them to cross their ankles whichever way feels best, because you can't test.
Right.
And so you have them try both ways. And by the way, I forget who it was. One of my other clients I realized didn't have the concept quite right. Some of my practitioners should be right over left, left over right for the ankles. What I like to do is cross your ankles one way. Nope, try the other way. Yep, that's the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And subset to that is, I think it's always a good idea, for instance, if they test right over left, so you do right over left with them. You may not do the thing, but you're doing it with them, or mirroring them, supporting them in your own actions. And then I had a new client, after a while they realized, who said, I forget what the toxic statement was. I don't believe that. And so I have to explain that there's a firewall between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. And your conscious mind has concluded what you say. But the problem is the subconscious mind is piloting the craft in the other direction.
Mhm.
And for you to be going this way, you're having to fight the current. And there was actually a car dealer in town, owned 3 or 4 dealerships, who talked about how terrifying it was for him each time he negotiated another dealership.
Mhm.
It was all he could do not to vomit while he was signing the paperwork.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
So he was making success, but he was swimming upstream to get there.
Yeah, I get it. Totally get it.
And just the reminder of the firewall often helps people understand. Okay, so I want to go through several different subsets to make sure that I've been clear in telling you what to do. For instance, I mentioned just recently, often a parent or a relative will come in on behalf of, or hire on behalf of this kid. And then over time, what you realize is it's more than just a kid. And so you start broaching the conversation and you end up creating the family group. So how do you create a family group? Have we already done this? Okay, so,
Not in class.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
been through it personally, but
so family group, and this also applies to businesses or organizations. When it gets to it, it's like, it looks to me like if we work on the whole family, since each person healing affects everyone else, we'll be able to get the healing for the child faster. And so what I do is I create a circle, and I'll hold this up in a minute. We'll call it the Smith family, John Smith. And will you hold that up so close enough so they can see it? Okay, can you see that? Yeah, okay. So that's the Smith family entity. This is, we are calling into being an existence that is conceptual only or spiritual only. Now, in the Smith family, we're going to have Mom Smith, whatever we'll call her, Julie, Mom. We'll have John, Dad, and they happen to have Junior and Sally as the kids. So what you've done in the side of the circle is you've got all the names. Okay, and so now we're going to role play. Give me an arm. So is it safe and appropriate for me to speak on behalf of the Smith family entity? I'm ready, willing, and able. Safe and appropriate for the Smith family entity to have me speak and heal on their behalf? Yes. And the Smith family entity is ready, willing, and able. Will the Smith family entity please tell us which of these members we should heal for the highest and best good of all? Highest and best good of all. Is it Julie, Mom? Is it John, the dad? Yes. Safe and appropriate for me to speak on behalf of John Smith in the family. I'm ready, willing, and able. Safe and appropriate for John Smith to have me speak and heal on his behalf and with him. He's ready, willing, and able to heal now. We both agree when we're done with this session that John and I will immediately cease co-surrogation. And then it's just like any other session. Now, here we happen to have a live person standing in, but it can also be done, go ahead and relax. Safe and appropriate for me to speak on behalf of the Smith family entity. I'm ready, willing, and able. Safe and appropriate for the entity to have me speak and heal on their behalf. Okay, entity, please indicate which member we should first heal today has the priority for the highest and best good of everybody. Is it Julie? Is it John? Is it Junior? Okay, safe and appropriate for me to speak on behalf of Junior. So the way I explain it to people is I have myself split down the middle. Half of me is the practitioner, and the other half is whichever person. And then 20 minutes in, we're done with Junior. Co-surrogation is safe and appropriate for Junior and me to desurrogate now. We are now desurrogated. My name is Brian, my name is Junior. Okay, who's the next? So I checked them off. Who's the next priority? Because we still have time in the session. Is it Julie? Okay, now it's Julie. So I put a little circle, a check mark. Safe and appropriate for me to speak on Julie. So it's the same process until we run out of time or until we've done enough healings for the whole entity that that's all they can handle for the day. This is really cool because the person who is here with me or is sponsoring it, often enough, the next time we get together before we go into the entity, will tell me the changes they've seen in the parties who were healed or in the entire family because of what we did.
Wow.
Another aspect that's interesting is the belief statements we changed for Junior, for instance. I see aha moments going on in whomever is representing them as, I get that, or how did you know that that's a big problem for them? I have one teenage athlete who in theory should be winning, leading all the scoring and every time he does it. And he always, 9 times out of 10 or 4 times out of 5, manages to injure himself just before the event, or to just miss being in first place. First belief statement we had, the toxic, was, if I win, they will hate me. And it turns out that was true. When he started winning, all his friends refused to talk to him, and the parents started making threatening noises to him.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I can't say that we are all the way through, but we are continuing the process.
Mhm.
So how does that work with businesses?
Okay, businesses. So, novelties. We're going to create the Acme Novelty entity. They sell anvils, they sell trick cannon, and there's this this address out in the middle of nowhere in the desert that keeps buying them and then complaining about faulty products. I don't think they got that. Oh, so it's the same deal, but instead of the Smith family entity, it's the Acme Products entity, or it's the North Church entity.
Okay.
And I usually then want a representative, someone higher up in the organization to be the stand-in for it. I did a church where we used the head of the board of directors. And we did one session, and they decided they didn't need any more because all of a sudden their collections had blossomed, which had been their issue.
So what, so in the business, you would put, okay, so Acme toy products or whatever. And then inside the entity circle, you would put like a board of directors or whoever.
John Smith, president. How about that?
Okay, just John Smith by himself, would you add in?
As the representative for the entity.
Okay,
And so ideally, from my standpoint, this we would be doing live. And so John Smith is here and we're doing it. But we've also said to the entity, here is the problem we want to work on today. Will you support us in that?
okay,
Just like with an individual client, I typically at the meeting say, what's on your mind? What's new? Is there something of concern or a particular direction you want to go? And if they say yes, then they explain it to me and I capsulize it into 2 or 3 words. And on the 7 healing zones chart, right under their name, I write what the goal is for the day. And we would do the same thing here. What's the goal for the day for Acme Products?
Brian, can you give me an example of a company that you've worked on?
I've only done one so far. However, I know of others who have worked in more. And that was a church. And it was a church with significant financial trouble.
Okay.
And we had the whole board in attendance, plus the 2 ministers. And I asked for a volunteer from the board, and the board president suggested it probably should be him. And so everyone else was partaking. I'd have them saying the words and in position, following along with whatever the board president was led to. And then I'd have everyone write it down.
Okay.
okay.
Similarly, sort of sidebarring, if I'm doing a demo meeting, I'll have everyone ideally in a circle, or if necessary in a set of chairs, and one person comes up at a time, and we do one number from Life's Burdens, for instance, and then we do one healing, and everyone does the healing with them. No reason not to give up an opportunity for people to heal more. And then they see the change in the number afterward. What I have noted with interest is how often raw emotion comes out, or major vulnerabilities. In one case, a young lady came up, and I don't remember the statement, but was, almost nobody knows I'm adopted. How did you know? And started crying. Yeah, it was a major vulnerability. She didn't feel loved. So it was an install of well, was it an install? Yeah, we did an install where people told her how glad they were she was alive.
Mm.
And when we were finished with that, and she was done, I said, would you like some hugs? Now, this was pre-COVID, of course. And so the majority of people came up and gave her hugs and told her how much they loved her.
Wow.
You know, there are times when it's just so incredibly moving.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, that sounds.
Okay, does that answer the question
Moving.
about business and organization?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
You can do it for schools too, a troubled school.
Okay.
In transactional analysis using their own techniques. Yeah, they revolutionized all sorts of businesses.
Okay. Awesome.
Similarly, I would think a class of troubled kids, actually a story about a class of troubled kids. It was back when I was touring and I was teaching in a K through 5 school. They hired me for 4 Thursdays to teach 5th graders about conceptualizing a story and writing a story and then presenting a story.
Mhm.
5 sessions in the day, starting at 8 o'clock. What they didn't tell me was the 5th session was going to be all ADHD after lunch and after recess.
Oh, wow.
And so yeah, when the time comes, the kids literally come rampaging in, and the teacher, who was supposed to be the proctor, left, just walked out. So this was before LIIFT, but when I had Psych 8 training. So I said, find your seats. I used a good stage voice. Okay, now I want you to cross your ankles. And my intent was they were each going to cross their ankles the way that worked for them. Now do this with your wrists. And then I'm going to start counting. Close your eyes. And when I say 10 and 9, I'm going to tell you whether to breathe in or breathe out. 10, breathe in. 9, breathe out, all the way down. And at 0, I had them open their eyes. Absolutely calm. We had a wonderful focused session.
Wow.
Very
So
cool.
if a school, if you have connections with a school that has some troubled kids, you could work with a class or classes. Or if you have an in with a school where they would see it as safe, they can refer parents with troubled children to you.
Mm.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah, the
referrals.
key would be whether the principal feels safe about it.
Yeah.
But having literature just hanging around,
Okay.
that's the value of getting literature all over the place.
Yes.
Okay. And one of the things that, no, I don't remember enough to mention that. Okay, so that's businesses and family groups. Any questions about those processes? And just remember, it's pretty damn hard to do something wrong because you're still using the safety protocols.
Yeah.
And yes, you can expect significant changes because everything has energy, everything is alive one way or another, if we are to believe the Native Americans, and I have no reason not to. Okay, then zone 7, I don't know that I covered it well enough. Zone 7 is mini sessions where you are led to a specific part of your client that needs to have a session all by itself. So safe and appropriate. Oh, yeah, we'll just use Sherelle's name. Safe and appropriate for Sherelle's little ones to have a mini session with me now. They're ready, willing, and able. Safe and appropriate for the little ones to collaborate with me in doing some healing, and they're ready, willing, and able to heal now. Then you do the same process you always do until the time comes to an end, in which case safe and appropriate to desurrogate with the little ones. Everyone's ready, willing, and able. Desurrogation is in place. Okay, what do we do next? It doesn't happen often because we do so much when we hit each statement, but once in a while, there's enough need in one section, and you want to be able to just pay attention to that one section. Okay, questions on that? Okay, next thing.
How often do you run across having to do this? Where seems more,
I haven't for 2 years. Before that, it might be once a month. The frequency changes. It used to be that the most common process was 4-quadrant, and now it's fairly unusual. And the self-hug is the common one. And it comes away. It's just like in any particular week, you might find yourself with 3 or 4 people dealing with the same mixture. Like this last week for me, the mixture of self and soul ancestors. No, I'm sorry, self and others, which is really unusual. We were, in 2, 3 of my clients, maybe more, we were doing 4 and 5 things, which were the self and the others, and nothing in between.
Wow.
Interestingly, when we did the others, maybe 30% of the time, we didn't have to do anything here because it was just the others with their influence.
Interesting.
So can like emergency situations come under like group 7? Like say if somebody call you in the middle of the night, like, oh, Junior is freaking out, really, can you help us? So would it be under like number 7 to target whatever? Say they know that Junior is he's bipolar and whatever.
You're having some sort of meltdown.
Yeah.
The important thing is don't make the assumption yourself. Safe and appropriate for me to speak on behalf of Junior. I'm ready, willing, and able.
Right.
Where's the priority to help Junior right now? And work your way down the sheet.
Okay.
Because the times I thought I've known what we needed to do, more often than not, I haven't.
Okay.
Now, flip side is when you're talking with people and they're talking about what's going on at the beginning of the session, you may find yourself with ideas of what statements to make.
Okay.
It is perfectly okay to write a set of statements,
Okay.
and I will actually have them help me do it. Remember, we're walking together. This is another way of reinforcing that we're walking together.
Okay.
And so then we'll work on the positives and the toxics there, and maybe another statement shows up after that. It may be halfway through the session before we end up getting to the 7 healing zones, but because the ideas have been presented thanks to something they said, which triggered an awareness.
Okay.
And any ones that you create that you think are really cool, share them with me. We'll put them in the book. And the key is when you are writing one, be really sure you're not accidentally sticking a piece of negativity in the positive statement.
Okay.
But other than that, the words aren't that critical. And I've had clients who at first got really embarrassed because they didn't say the words quite the right way. And I had to explain that it's not the order of the words or the exact words, it's the sense. And if there's words that work better for you, go ahead and use them. Yeah, there are not a lot of people who use the word splendiferous, so they can do something else instead. Okay. I am going to send you a copy of each of the supplements. I'm pretty sure I did not enclose those. Well, did I? Did I enclose a copy of each of the supplements? Like a failed life or attraction to death.
I think attraction.
Okay, I'll send those along with the fact sheets, but I'm going to talk a bit about them now because it is a somewhat different process. With the supplements, we have all the positives ranked together and the toxics all linked ranked together.
Mhm.
So what we're doing is not one statement at a time. The way I do it, and subject to change, but I was just doing it this afternoon for someone, go through all the toxics one at a time, have them read each toxic. Is this a belief statement, yes or no? And you just check off every one. The person I was working with today, easily 80% of the attraction to death statements she held. Yeah, just give me a rope and some pills now. It's better to die young than suffer. If I die young, or if I die a martyr, God will love me. I prefer an easy death to life. Those are just the ones I'm remembering off the top of my head.
Mhm.
So then you show them all the checkmark ones, and it's generally the response is something like, "Oh shit." So folks, this is Jen Beck.
Hi.
She is
Hi, Jen.
LIIFT practitioner and a whole bunch of other things. She and Liz are sort of have similar practices. And so will you tell us the sorts of things you do that get you new clients?
Sure, happy to. And welcome and congratulations on you guys getting certified. Super exciting. For me, I already had a pre-existing nutrition coaching business. And so one of the things that I did is I asked a lot of my clients if they would be guinea pigs for me as I was training and as I was doing my practice sessions and really honing my craft. And a lot of them turned into ongoing clients. Not all of them, but a lot of them did from there. And, I do a lot on Facebook. There's different holistic groups and women's groups and moms groups. And so depending on what your kind of niche is or what your demographic is, like think about who you want to work with and who needs you most, and then go and talk to those people. And a lot of it is bringing awareness to the fact that so much of our health stuff is driven by emotions, so much of our limiting beliefs, and for example, money, right, or our relationships. How many of those is based around our old stuff? And so the more comfortable I got with collecting stories from different clients of breakthroughs that they had, or really understanding the premises behind LIIFT, I was able to just really comment on different posts and things like that and ask people like, have you ever considered this? Have you ever experienced, dealing with, or have you experienced any trauma in your life? Do you have any big stressors? Like, what are the things that are holding you back? Kind of raising awareness to those pieces of it. And networking and being able to, going into networking groups, whether it's virtual or in person. And again, sharing a story, not necessarily details, but for somebody that, I worked with a mom and the kids were going through a lot of anxiety. They had lost their dad 2 years prior. And we did some familial work, and it was amazing how much the entire family blossomed and re-engaged. So being able to share something like that, if your niche is working with kids or families, and, so really find the people that you want to help most and start collecting stories that you can be able to share for that. So for me, I really built my business with networking, with, just asking people to do a one-to-one, right? Other business owners, other wellness practitioners. In Cincinnati, we have a holistic health practitioners group. And so there's people coming into this group every single day looking for support, looking for answers. There's Holistic Health and Wellness, which has, I don't know how many thousands and thousands of people, which is a national group. But in those wellness groups, finding the people that have complementary businesses, so they're not competitive, not to say that there's not enough business to go around. I don't believe in competing with other people. But really looking at, like, are there chiropractors that or massage therapists, or people that are in nutrition, or what other wellness practitioners do you know that you can connect with that share the same type of clients that you can be able to support? It may be a financial coach, right? So think about people that you share kind of the same demographic or same client with, and connect with them and do a one-to-one. And for me, I always offer a free demo session. I mean, that's how I met Brian in the first place. We were at a holistic practitioners group, and he's like, hey, you know, I'm the creator of LIIFT, and if anybody wants to try it, let me know. And after the first session, I was hooked. And now I'm a, you know, advanced certified practitioner of it, you know, not too long after that. So doing that free demo session is really a huge way in. And then, you know, one of the things that I like about LIIFT is it gives you an in to be able to bring them in as a client, right? When you test at the end, okay, so when is the next time that Susie will be ready for more LIIFT? It's like, okay, well, do you want to schedule another one? Sure. Okay, great. So, and for me, I believe in packages because it's selling once versus 10 times for 10 sessions. The average person needs 6 to 10 sessions. So do you want to start out with a package of 5, or would you like to start out with a package of 10? If you do a package of 5, I take, you know, $5 or $10 off of each session. And if you want to do a package of 10, it's maybe 10 or 15, right? So you base it on what you're comfortable with. But doing a package allows you to take the pressure off of every conversation. So now you're really focused on them. They know it's coming. They're showing up. It just makes the whole process that much easier. You know, but so for me, a lot of it's been networking. You know, I've had a weekly newsletter list for years. So being able to find a way to keep in touch with people and stay in front of them. You know, something like MailChimp is free, or maybe it's like $10 a month now, where you can just put them onto a newsletter list and send out a newsletter weekly or monthly with different tips or success stories or, you know, specials if you run those throughout the course of the year, but you're staying in front of people, so you're connecting with them. And I mean, in my nutrition business, I literally had somebody wait 4.5 years to actually sign up to work with me because I just kept putting out good content. And then when they were finally ready, they called. So even if you do a demo session with somebody and they don't schedule going forward right away, just put them in a little drip or keep touching base with them. If you don't have a newsletter yet, just keep touching base with them and checking in like, hey, I just wanted to see how you're feeling after our session. And then, hey, how are things going a month later? So you're just kind of keeping a pulse on that. So you're nurturing those people. But I find that on average, you know, most of my clients, I would say probably do about 10 sessions. But I have some people that have been with me for almost 2 years doing, you know, every other week or once a month or something like that. So a lot of it's just building that relationship and just being there for them, being open. Like, we don't have to schedule today, but this is when it's calling for. Do you want to schedule for that day or a week after that? Just simple little questions like that, where you're just, you know, just really being their advocate for their greatest good. And just being, you know, for me, it's a matter of being open and how can I support them? How can I help them? You know, there's lots of ways to be able to meet people, but I think that demo session is huge. And then when you do a package, like I said, it just takes the pressure off of going forward. So
a technical question.
Yes.
How do you track the package that they bought as you go through? Do you keep a notebook, or do you keep it on you know, on your computer and check off every time they come in?
Because I write down like their before, right? So somebody says stress and family and health, and I do the measurement before, and then I write down like, sorry, my internet's a little wonky. I write down like, you know, 1 out of 5 sessions, 2 out of 5 sessions on each sheet. So I just keep a running folder. So that way, when they come back to me a month later, I'm like, oh, great. How's it going with this? And it gives me the tools and the notes to follow up with them a month or 2 later. Right. I'm a very tactile person. So I have files and paper. Other people are like, I have spreadsheets. Great. That's not, Brian knows me. I am not a tech person. So I'm very tactile. So for me, it's keeping notes and stuff like that. And then after they've been out of the system out of sessions for probably 2 or 3 months, I'll put them into a back folder where I'll touch base with them every few months and just how are things going and just keeping in touch, because you never know when somebody's going to need you. And you being top of mind when they do will be a godsend for them, and it means more business for you.
Yes. And speaking of longevity, I have one client who's been with me going on 4 years now. And we've gone from her to now we work on every member of her family.
Yeah.
And she is just so overjoyed at the changes. And this was a very poorly attended psychic fair I went to, where I may have talked with a total of 6 people the whole time. And she called me up 2 months, 3 months later and started the session. And every week to every 2 weeks, $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 is more than paid for that show.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great point. I mean, doing shows and workshops and doing, even a group demo. I have a membership group for my nutrition business. And 1 month we talked about stress management. And so I did a demo of LIIFT and 2 other people came into that. So you can do group sessions. The way I ran that one is I just had each person, and I muscle tested each person. I did 1 healing for each one of them and then just moved on to the next one. But they all did it together, right? So everybody said it together. We all breathed together.
Yep.
And it was, it was healing for all of them, and they all got something from each one of those 2. It was fun to be able to hear them share how everybody else is resonating with them too.
Was that live, Jen?
Yeah, it was live.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I was a virtual, so like it was in real time, but it was virtual.
Yeah.
Oh, it was virtual. How did you do the muscle testing virtual?
I tested as a surrogate.
Okay.
Yeah. So I tested each person as a surrogate separately, and then ended closed surrogation, and then moved on to the next person.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I have done, I've actually gotten away from it, but I was doing prosperity and stress-free group sessions of 10 and 20 people, where each one got a chance. And sometimes if we went fast enough, they'd get 2 chances. We just go through once, go through a second time. And the people leaving were higher in kites because of all that raised energy.
I bet.
And the collective energy too.
I bet.
How about an elevator speech? What do you use as an elevator speech?
So I talk about, what do I talk about? I'm good in the conversation, thinking about it off the side. So I talk about the fact that I'm a certified LIIFT practitioner, and LIIFT really looks at dissolving and removing the trapped emotions that have been stored in our body over time. Because our body, whenever we experience something negative, our body stores our issues in our tissues and then uses them as radar detectors to help us stay out of situations that feel similar. It also helps to reprogram those self-limiting beliefs. And I always joke about affirmations. I'm like, affirmations, you say them 100,000 times and eventually they get in your conscious mind.
Right.
The challenge is you still have all the toxic beliefs that you were fighting against in the first place. So now your brain in a stressful situation, it goes, oh, which one? Default, it goes back to the old belief. Where with LIIFT, it actually removes the toxic and embodies the new empowering beliefs. So it becomes your way of living and your way of filtering the world from that point forward. And once you do a LIIFT healing, you lock it in place. You never have to go back to it again. It's not something you have to think about 100,000 times. You just heal it. Your body always knows the fastest path to healing. You heal it once, it's locked in, and it's done. And now you get to be free of whatever that self-limiting belief was. So if that's something you have an interest in, I'd love to be able to offer you a complimentary demo session so you can be able to learn about the process and actually experience it. Just put your name in the chat, or just, give me a call or meet me in the back of the room, or whatever the call to action is. And then just connect after that.
Cool. Any questions for her?
Sounds good.
Okay. Jen, I believe you have a daughter there with you.
I do. She's in the shower. We had soccer tonight. They ran 20 minutes over, and I'm like, okay, so I told Brian I'd be here, so I'm here. But seriously, if I can be supportive, if you guys have questions or I can help in any way, just reach out to me on Facebook. Brian's got my number too, so don't hesitate to reach out if I can support you. But the biggest thing I will tell you is, in the beginning, it's a numbers game. Just do a lot of demo sessions, give them away for free. You'll get really comfortable at it. And then you'll start to learn your rhythm. You'll start to learn really who you want to work with and who needs you the most, that's kind of in your circle and that you're passionate about helping, and then just hit the ground running. But do a ton of free demo sessions so you get really comfortable with it. I think that's the biggest piece that people stumble on, is because they're like, oh, I don't know the right thing to say. I don't know whatever, right? Or I don't know how people are going to receive it. And I had one woman that walked out. So she was a client, a nutrition client, and she did a demo session. And afterwards she goes, that was interesting. Thanks. And that was it. I mean, literally said nothing. And I was like, okay, well, let me know if you have any questions or anything comes up or whatever. And she sent me an email like 3 months later. And she goes, I know I never followed up with you about that LIIFT thing, but I just have to tell you, it works. She goes, normally every March and April, I get really depressed and anxious because it's the months that my brother, my mom, and my dad were either born in or died in. So it's just a really tough time. And it has been for more than 10 years. But this year I kind of sailed through it. Like I got sad on the day, but that was it. And that was one session, you guys. So even, and she didn't believe in it, right? She didn't get it. It was out of her zone. It was way too woo-woo for her. And yet it still works. So even if they're not like, oh my God, this is amazing, they can still really benefit from it. So even one session has the ability to change somebody's life. So just get out there and offer them and talk to people, and just, be open.
Reminder that I gave you guys cards that you can duplicate to stick out on cork boards, asking for volunteers to help you practice. Now, I want to give Jen particular credit. After she had that session, she basically called up and said, "You're teaching me starting now." And so she's
like, how do I do this?
yes, and from the first session on, she was busy using it, and I'd get calls at 9 at night or 10 in the morning. I'm working with someone right now, and I run into this thing. I'm not sure what to do.
Right.
Absolute courage.
Nonstop.
Yep.
And
And
I really wanted to learn it. And I will tell you that I found LIIFT in a really dark place. I was in a really toxic marriage, and LIIFT healed me enough to get out of it. And for me, it is a gift to the world that I get to be able to share with other people. And I still use LIIFT on myself all the time, right? Because life can, for me, I look at life, it's like, how can I enhance my existence now? So I'm a better mom for my daughter. So I'm a better coach for my clients. So I just have more joy and happiness and peace in my life and prosperity in my life, right? So I would encourage you, use it for you, share it with the world. It's an amazing gift. And I am so grateful to Brian for creating it. Thank you.
my
Well,
pleasure.
I'm so grateful to Jen for turning me on to Brian.
My pleasure, Liz. My pleasure.
Any questions for Jen at the moment? Jen, thank you so much.
My
Thanks
pleasure.
to Bailey Riley.
Her alternate again? We better do some muscle testing on her.
For allowing us to have this time with you.
Oh, she's enjoying it. She's playing in the shower. I can hear her.
Okay.
She's singing.
Oh, okay. Singing
So-
in the shower.
Yes. No, it's more Frozen 2 than it is
Oh, okay.
singing in the rain. All right, I'll let you guys get back to
Thank
it.
you,
Thank you
Jen.
so much for giving me a few minutes of your time so I can be able to share. Good luck and congratulations.
Thank you.
I bet that gave you some more ideas.
Yes. That's more her 1 minute spiel is more what I've been kind of talking to people,
Mhm.
about
Yep.
limiting beliefs. Mhm.
Let me tell you a story. One of my trainees some time ago was a teacher at a school for at-risk kids, middle school, if I remember correctly. No, it had to have been middle school. And when she was, it was 2 Saturdays, and she was assigned to practice like everyone else. And so she put a little note on the cork board in her room. And by Monday evening, 4 kids had signed up, and so she saw them Tuesday evening and Wednesday evening, or during the day. I don't know exactly how she scheduled it, but by Wednesday evening, another 60 had signed up
Wow.
because the word had gotten out how cool it was.
Excellent.
Mhm.
Excellent.
And depending on your market, taking those little placards, like that I gave you the template for, stick them up in coffee houses, on community bulletin boards.
Mhm.
Lots of possibilities.
Mhm.
And she's right, don't hold back until you get it perfect, because you'll never get it perfect. LIIFT is flexible enough that it's pretty doggone hard to do damage. You'd really have to work to do damage. And usually I'm available to the phone if you find yourself in a stuck spot.
Mhm.
Right, this is what
Okay. Cool.
Mhm.
So she's created a flyer that she's handing out. And I'll help you any way I can. I don't have anything else at the moment. I'm going to send you some stuff, and I'm going to tell me what training nuggets you'd like me to create for specific things that you want to be reminded or want to do another study of. And as quickly as possible, I'll create them and get them up for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, those of you who've not told me how you want your name on the certificate of completion, text me. I'm going to try to get them out reasonably quickly. I'll text you when I send them out, and if I haven't texted you by Friday, call me up and beat me up. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about? Because at this point, I think we're done. And all of you have enough knowledge, you can go out and be working miracles right now.
Woohoo.
Yay. Congratulations to you all. I look forward to seeing great things with you, and always call me to share good news and if you have questions or problems. I'm here to support you. And remember, we have 186 million people just in the United States alone,
Yeah.
according to the studies, that are hurting.